a strong Singapore Premier League lead was a strong national team. I mean, let's talk about, let's turn the attention to the Young Lions. The Young Lions, this initiative has been around for almost 15 years. And we've seen the Young Lions in the SPL. Maybe we can ask ourselves, what truly have they achieved in the last 15 years? They've not finished in the, they've not finished in the top 3. That's how much I know. And even at the SEA Games, we still haven't been able to even reach the silver medal, which we last won in 1989. It's been 30 years, we are still struggling to even reach the SEA Games final. So, should we still keep the Young Lions together, or should, there's been a lot of talk, release the Young Lions back to the SPL clubs, let the clubs take over their training, their welfare, everything like that. Collin, you have a say on this? Having been a chairman or general manager of a former SPL club as well.
I think the intention of having a Young Lions in the very beginning is very good. Especially towards the goal 201, towards our dream to play at the highest level as a national team, to groom them. I thought the idea is very good. But you see, they need to play with more mature players. They need to adapt to different environment. As a team, this system is not just used by Singapore. Thailand, the KT Sat era, the whole team were trained in Europe. Even Indonesia, I think everybody did that, but how come they are not doing it anymore? We have to ask that question. I think they need to grow as an individual, then put them back together. For myself, I don't represent anybody, but I don't think I will let the Young Lion carry on playing the professional league. Give it back to the club. Let them have different experiences. All of us have to grow up individually, then come back together as a team.
Bernard?
I'll let the coach say first because I want.
For me, it's a definite no. I've been a major critic of the Young Lions from way back.
No, as in release them to the clubs.
Yes, release them to the clubs. As in not take part in the
SPL.
Singapore Premier League. Obviously, the objective is obviously like what you said, the development part, and then groom them for the national team and stuff like that. My problem is I don't think the objective has been met. So if it hasn't been met for so many years, then it's a failed project, right? Obviously, you have that few little players that have emerged, the Haris and these players. So, but my problem with the Young Lions is, it's momentum, it's a habit, it's a routine. They are never going to win the Premier League, and obviously that is not their goal. Obviously, it's never their goal to win the Premier League, right? It's for development. But my problem is the routine of losing games. It becomes a habit. And like Collin said, learning from great players, the best foreigners. When I started out in 96, 97, for SAF FC, we played with the players of the stature of Ragus and all these players. We learn from them. We learn the hard way. They took the mickey out of us. The youngsters those back then. So we learned, and then we grew and we got better. And as for the Young Lions, they've been struggling in terms of results, and it hasn't been working. And then when you keep on losing games, it becomes okay. It becomes okay. We are a developmental team. It's okay to lose games, but it is not okay to lose games. There is a line where you develop, but at the same time you need to win games as well. So I have a problem with the Young Lions project.
So I have not reached a point where I can decide definitive one or the other, because we are conducting an experiment that perhaps we need time to take fruit before we start. So I accept all the criticisms that have been made on the Young Lions, but I will offer another point of view. The fact that it's not working does not automatically mean the alternative will work better, right? It could also not work. And then we really have a complex problems on our hands. So there are 3 things I would say on the Young Lions project. The first, the original idea of putting the Young Lions together was not unlike what Collin had said, was to get another 23 squad to play together for a long duration so that they understand one another, so that when the transition comes to the SEA Games,
Games.
it's actually quite easy. And most people will tell you familiarity with playing people does help. So that's the first. The second was playing time and opportunity. 2 years ago, before we introduced age requirements, the average age of the SPL team was rising. Tampines Rovers had a team average age of 29 years old.
We used to call the club Dad's Army, right?
Yeah.
Hey, 29 years old, prime.
Yeah.
Prime age. Prime age.
It's
How
a
many?
prime.
So then the
Yeah.
question comes: is how many 23-year-olds were getting playing time? And it was almost zero. They were not playing the youngsters. Now there are many reasons why that is the case, right? So for many of the European clubs, you play youngsters because you develop them, you save on transfer fees, you hopefully can get a transfer fee from them, but that's not really something that works in the SPL. We don't have transfers, right? So you sign a player for 1 year, you develop him, and then somebody signs him up, all the development goes to that guy, right? You could probably implement some compensation system that FIFA argues, but again, that's not something that's prevalent. So people were not playing, teams were not playing youngsters. So without the young lions, the number of under 23 players participating in the SPL would be minuscule. So I can release them to the club, but if they don't play them, what's the point, right? So that's the second issue we had. The third issue is administrative. At least 7 or 8 of the young lions are national service. If we want MINDEF to release the players to play, I think it's easier to release to the FAS than to release to Geylang, Tampines, Hougang.
Right.
So if you release them to the club, they won't play. MINDEF won't release. So we have a complex problem. It's not easy, right? It's not easy. So what would we like to see? I think the last one obviously is one of coaching development. You're a coach, right? And under 23 players have a unique set of issues to over 23 players. They're still young boys. They have lots of choices. Some of them are deciding to play, not to play. Some are deciding, is schoolwork more important or is this more important? They are young people with choices and decisions. Again, unless we have good mentors in the clubs, we may have attrition not only in just the standards of playing, but also in the I suppose that their own development skills. So again, that's also another problem. So I think we need to put that all on the table and then start to decide: is the Young Lions project, do we really expect them to win? Is blooding them, in the SPL, has it helped their development? You can say that, you always finish at the bottom 2, but has it developed the players? I will make the argument that just playing the SPL and getting the playing time helps. It is the only team guaranteed that we have 2 strikers from Singapore. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the only team that has 2 strikers always playing with Singapore. And because we have overage players, we can even take a 26-year-old and put him and make sure he gets playing time.
I'd like to chip in on this.
Yeah.
Actually, let's talk about Shasi. You were in Gibraltar Crescent before the S League started. We don't have a young lion team in the league.
Yeah.
But what we did, we have intermediate team that play in international tournaments. Like we have the Philip International. What I think that we should do, let them go back to their club. Then not just cater, we have to create tournaments to expose them. The second team, the national second team, those days we call intermediate or under 19 or 23. But you see, we are lacking of that now. And putting young lions playing day in, day out. I agree what Shasi say, even Bernard, you're saying mindset. But this mindset part, they are losing so many games. I'm not going to blame the coach too, because they're developing players. But here I am, don't talk about footballers. Even a student, my own child, if he's keep on not doing well and say, Dad, I'm not doing well, that's all. That's the best of me. How am I going to bring him out and say, son, there's another way, let's do it this way. I'm looking at something further. Of course we argue which one have the long vision. Young Lions been around for 15 years. Is it the vision that we have tested? this division we've tested so many times. And of course, if the team going to stay, I agree also. I support. But let's find a proper solution and move forward.
I think this playing time issue, the youngsters getting playing time, is a cause and effect issue because of what happens way below. Right? Now, I just want to talk about the playing time for the young Lions. Now, I've been doing commentary for the past few years as well in the S League, in the Singapore Premier League, especially last season as well, doing quite a number of young Lions. Now, in their team sheet, there's about 30 players. Team sheet, 30 players, not like the other teams, right? Now, they've got a set of 30 players. At any one time, 11 can play. 7 on the bench, 18. Now, you've got 12 players up there sitting in the stands, right? Now, I think that debunks the myth that you are giving them playing time. What happens to the 12 of them? You know, those 12 players are not playing. And as I go along the season, I see the same, maybe not same 12 players, maybe we have 8 and 9 between them, rotating, always up there in the stands watching the game. So they've not given playing time.
So I agree with you. If it's reducing the team to 22, I agree. I think that's probably a good suggestion. And release the 8, maybe they have more playing time elsewhere.
You know, and going back to the cause and effect thing, right? Now, I think maybe we are just jumping ahead in terms of whether this is a developmental league or not, right? Now, why we are imposing this under 23 rule, right, to have them to play in the league, is because of what happened below. Now, if a proper youth system has been set up at all clubs, 10s, 12s, 14s, 16s, 18s, naturally, the good players will rise. The cream will rise, and then you don't need this under 23 rule. They will play. They are good enough because of your brilliant youth development program that you have at each club. You will play. If you are good enough, you will play. You don't need to be 23. You don't need to be 26. You don't need to be, So I think it is from way below.
But now I'll come back to the question. Nice in theory. We started the S League like this.
Yeah.
Why didn't it work?
Later we'll talk about S.
No, this is the S League part.
Yeah.
This
Why
is
did
real
it work?
part. Yeah.
Why do clubs not have a good 12, 16, 18? So that's another good question to ask, but I'd like to hear your opinions.
No, I think I beg to differ. S League started 1996, was a huge success. That's where the generation of Fandi, Malik, David going to retire. Which was the next generation? Manhon, Tong Hai. All these start coming up. It was developing. After that, Indra Shadan, Alam Shah, it was developing. But the development stopped when the merger came in.
What merger?
The SAS and S League. Because S League is a private property.
That took place 2 years ago.
Sorry?
That only took place 2 years
2 years ago. But my understanding, when the late Mr. Kwek Ling Ju and Mr. Patrick Ang stepped down, and the whole thing started to change. It seems like to me, S League report to FAS. To me. Okay? Now, I think we have some glory time where the stadium was packed.
I think we need to be specific, not just reporting, but what changed?
Yeah, this is why I want to ask, what changed?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it lack of leadership?
If the reporting line has changed,
is it
what
lack
has
of
actually changed?
Is it lack of leadership? Because when the two person, Mr. Ang and Mr. Kwek involved, they are very established businessmen. Mr. Ang is a passionate football management guy. Both persons are business minded, and they actually give something new and different to football in Singapore. Now, after 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, now what happened? I also want to ask, because by then I left Singapore football, but what I saw was, okay, let's cut budget. Sponsor not coming in, let's cut budget. Of course, sponsorship problem is an international problem. It's just not Singapore problem. Any country that want to do football, after a cycle of 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, we will have sponsorship problem. Likewise, F1, they keep on changing. They have to beg for sponsor too. So my point is that I think S League and FAS is completely different skill set to manage these two organizations. One is a league and one is FAS is a national interest. It's just like England. Just like many countries, it's the same.
So, Collin, you're making a very critical So what you're saying is we privatize the SPL, all problems will be solved.
No.
I
I'm the
would-
right person to lead.
So you're saying it's a leadership issue.
Yes.
I disagree with you.
Completely.
Of course. Okay. But
No, it's not of course, because I'm not changing. I'm just going with the facts. So the facts are these, right? Singapore is very fortunate that its only professional sport is soccer. We are in a blessed position. But we also have to humbly admit that this is due largely to funding by government. Okay? So the quick question we ask ourselves is this. Can professional soccer be commercially viable in Singapore? I think that's the first question we all have to ask.
Very good question.
Yeah.
Can it be an industry?
Can it be an industry? So if you have sit down and you work out budgets, right, you will realize, right, that the numbers don't add up. So let me ask some questions now. What do you think is the budget of Liverpool Football Club? Give me millions of dollars.
I think
Ballpark.
billions
No, it's not billions. It's about 400 million US dollars, right?
a year.
A year. Okay? What do you think a budget of a J League club, a top J League club would be? About 50 million, right? You come down to ask, if we wanted a club to even be a J League standard, it's 50 million a year, you know. I 8 clubs, huh? I'm just wondering, where do I get 400 million, you know, in Singapore? Let's do it a fraction, let's do it 10. Where do I get 80 million in Singapore?
I think there was one stage our club had at least 3 to 5 million.
together with sponsorship.
Yeah, together with sponsorship. I'm going to ask, what did they use this 3 to 5?
Precisely.
You see, this is back to leadership.
You
I'm
also
not
call
just
it
talking
comeback,
about,
right?
I'm not talking about the FAS. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about a chairman of S League, but I'm talking about the club management.
Yeah.
Do they know how to use it correctly? Do they have the network to hire correctly? This is the issue that we are facing now.
But then I don't run the clubs run themselves. We appoint the chairman. The chairman have to do it, right? So unless you're saying that, you know, we dictate the clubs how
No,
they
we
do it,
can't.
we can't, right?
We
So
can't.
clubs are run the way they are. So even if 5 million, then the question it sponsors and everyone asks, okay, what has been done? So you say it was a success, but was it a commercial success? No.
No.
It still required a lot of assistance, right? Was it a national team success? So, you know, that's the issue, right?
So you see,
Yeah.
I'm not a money person,
Yeah.
but right at the get-go, I did this. It basically goes back to this, right?
Yeah.
The clubs are running on their own. Obviously, they get seed money from FA and so on. They can't depend on that, right? Who gives you money for free, right? You can't just depend on that. So you got to go out there and do it on your own. So it's a club issue now,
Yeah.
right? So now this to work. Youth development, again now I'm going back because I'm not a money person, I'm a football person. As a coach, I want my under 10s, I want my under 12s, I want my under 14s, I want my under 16s, I want my under 18s, all the way up to under 21s in a club. Right?
Which you don't have the budget. Yeah.
I'm a coach. This is what I want, right? From way under 10s all the way to 21s, and then at each level I get the proper coaching done. Where am I going to get my facilities?
Yeah.
Right, so it is a
You don't own the
it's a
system
problem.
It's a system problem. It's so complex that it's
Because
You
you
know,
don't.
Sashi's raised a very good point.
Yeah, and you don't own the stadiums. The clubs
You
don't
don't.
own the stadiums.
Yeah.
Like
Very
and you
good
can't blame FA or S League for not giving them money. How much do you want them to
No,
give?
I think
You
the-
know, so
I think-
it's a
I think the question is, should the league be privatized and should the FA be the FA? Like
Okay,
English FA and
Let me pause. Who will take it on?
Yeah.
You say privatize, I'm already told you commercially it's tough.
it's not.
Who will take it on?
This is what I'm trying to say. Do we have somebody have the ability to make it happen?
we haven't. I don't think.
So
it's
my-
been,
my-
I don't think it's been put out yet. And you know, there's maybe you never know. One of our
Okay.
real estate.
I was
moguls,
reading
you never
about
know.
this, and again, it is an apple and orange thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about Germany, right? And again, we can't compare in
Yeah,
terms
yeah,
of money. In terms of what we can compare is in terms of what they had in terms of mindset and
Yep.
attitude, right? So in 2000, I'm sure you know, 2000 they dropped out of the Euros
Yeah.
group stages. 2002 they lost to Brazil in the final,
Yes.
and then there was a major revamp in German football, right?
And Klinsmann came on board.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there was a major revamp, and they had this talent identification scheme. They set up so many bases and whatever. But what they did was also, what was interesting was they imposed it on a club. Right? Certain things were imposed on the club that if you don't have this, you are out of the league, the Bundesliga or whatever, right? So that is an example, right? But can it work here? Can you impose on a club that, okay, if you don't satisfy these requirements, then you're out of the league. We are already struggling. We are in danger of not having 10 clubs in the league.
Yeah.
So can we do that? Can we, so those are a little bit of an example of how the German did that, but obviously, can we do that here? Impose on a club. Because I think, seriously, every club in Singapore, in terms of the local clubs, forget about the Brunei's and all, you need to have a proper youth structure.
Yeah. We got to round up this particular SPL issue now. If we will go on for another 2 hours. Just one quick question. Should the young Lions, perhaps riding on what he said earlier about in terms of developing into more aggressive players and maturing, should they maybe play abroad? Take the whole team, play in the M League, for example. How we had the Lions 12. I mean, the first 2 years we saw the Lions 12.
Okay, first thing, we are not invited. So very difficult to say you want to play the M League. In fact, we were asked to leave. So very hard to say that you want to.
Yeah, but that was 5 years ago. Maybe things have changed. Maybe the FAS.
We need to step out of it. Move on.
Shasi, do you think
No, but how do you expect our players to develop playing week in, week
Raj,
out
Raj,
against
Raj.
our
Pause.
whether do you think that Lions Child should go back to Malaysia Cup?
No, so pause. First of all, I think there are few streams here, right? I think it's important that exposure to elite competition is there, and I agree with you. You are pushed by your geographical thing. The argument why Europe has developed so much is because talent moves across borders very easily. Coaching talent, management talent, player talent moves very easily. We are not in a region that actually does that quite easily. It's beginning to see that players going to Malaysia, going to Thailand to play. So that's one form of actually getting the ecosystem to actually work together. For a national team, exposure to good competition is important. A great example is how Qatar has done it. So Qatar, for their youth, they have invited Manchester United to come for residential camps, Barcelona youth team, Bayern Munich youth team. So they play over the summer consistently with European talent at the top level, right? But that costs a lot of money. So you need to make an argument that, and not only that, you can't do it 1 year. You got to do it for 10 years, right? Seriously, right? You got to do it for 10 years. So that's the kind of commitment that Singapore needs to make if we want to make this happen. We need to make that argument.
Okay.
It's not an easy argument, right? Because the argument will come, why soccer, why not tennis or bowling that's been given so much, and sailing and they've given all the medals, why should I invest in soccer?
Should we consider bringing back the other local clubs that have been out of action? Woodlands Wellington, Gombak United, Tanjung Pagar. Maybe because of we're not sure how I think maybe you probably have a sense of what the average attendance is at every SPL match, but now with the rules that kicked in last year where the clubs are sharing the home stadiums, and maybe now we don't even have a representative in the north. I stay in the north, I stay in Woodlands, I used to support the Rams for the last 20 odd years. You don't even have Sembawang Rangers either. So should a concerted effort be made to bring the local clubs back? And you never know, that might rejuvenate the local supporters to come back and support the SPL.
Firstly, Singapore is not that big, so forget about your north and whatever. Okay, that's one. Number two is, can they stand the heat? Gombak has come in twice, left twice, right? Tiong Bahru as well. I think then they changed to Tanjung Pagar, right? So Woodlands has gone out. So it's not about getting them in and for the sake of getting them in. Okay, numbers doesn't matter in terms of if they come in, it doesn't guarantee you the numbers, the attendance. It doesn't guarantee you anything.
Okay.
So if they come in, so be it. But they've got to be really financially stable. Which they weren't. That's why they are out in the first place. So to me, if you are good enough, you're financially stable, then get in there. But then to me, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I don't think, I agree what you say, but the most important thing is still the whole professional league need to have a national agenda. The purpose of this league have to be very clear. what do we want to achieve 3 years from now? And so you say put some young players, what do you want to see 5 years from now? Somebody will have to execute it.
So let me take Colin's point and put my own view across. And this is my personal view, so I don't speak on this in FAS. I've looked at the numbers and I've studied leagues abroad. And I think the correlation between having a super league, right, the tier 1 league, and a good national team is actually quite weak. So I don't think the Eredivisie in Holland would be regarded as a tier 1 league. But Holland is a tier 1 team. Belgium same, right? Iceland doesn't have a great league. They're top 30 in the world, right? So I don't think the correlation is very strong. It is where your players develop. I think that's quite critical. I think the national SPL should be an avenue for young Singaporean talent to develop. And that's my view, right? It's not the view of everyone, but that's my view. And if that's the case, then we should be very focused on making sure there are opportunities for talented young Singaporeans to play at the national league, at the highest level, and to be spotted by talent scouts to play in even higher leagues. We don't have to be a tier 1 league. We can't even afford it. It's not possible. We cannot afford 50 million a club to even be a J League standard. So let's not even try. But let's be a very, very good feeder league.
A good feeder league.
Yeah. To professional leagues, tier 1 leagues elsewhere. And that's what I want it to be. I want people to come to Singapore and say there are good young talent here. Then come to the league, scout, bring them to maybe a tier 3, a tier 2 or tier 1 league.
Okay. Let's address another issue, foreign talent. If you all recall, former coach Radi Abramovich in 2004, 2003 when he came, the national team experienced a couple of losses, and then finally he did get onto the winning track. It also helped that at that point in time we had the foreign talent scheme in place where a few players like Agu Kashmir, Idmi Dixon, Farudin Mustafic, Shiljai, all in that period they became naturalized citizens. And what happened? That helped the national team go on to win the Suzuki Cup, which is the premier event of this region, and they won it 3 times, 04, 06 and 2012. Since 2012, that was the last time we won it. 2014, when the former national coach Bernd Starner made the decision to drop all the foreigners, from 2014 till now, former coach V. Sundaram as well, we've not been able to advance into the semi-finals and we've not had any foreign talents. So my question to you guys is, starting with Collin, should we revisit the foreign talent scheme?
I think this is a global situation now. Everybody wants foreign talents. But you see, when I'm very blessed because that year when I was with the national management, we won the Tiger Cup, 100% Singaporean. And that was a time where Fandi, David, Malik retired and all the new generation appeared.
Yep.
It took over,
Yep.
but that need a transition. You see, with regards to foreign talents, I think we need to learn from some countries. Don't just take in for the sake of taking in. Some of the foreign talents are not even better than local players. You're actually depriving local talents of a place to play. What country should we learn? Look at Japan rugby team. Seriously, Asian physique to play in rugby and to beat Ireland and things like this. Yeah, but they have talents. They use very quality, 3 to 4 good talents. Likewise, their football team. Recently I saw Southeast Asia, everybody start to bring in talents. I don't want to mention which country.
We know. I think we know, yeah.
They are not going anywhere. They are not going further. When we had foreign talent that year, I was expecting us to be top 8, top 6 in Asia. We can't be saying that going around Southeast Asia is our aim. That's how I feel. We need foreign talents, but let's do it correctly.
Okay. Shasi?
Yeah, I think he hit the nail on the head because it has to be done correctly. Because of all the FTS players, I think only Mustafic is left behind. And I think he's with Tampines and he's doing well here. Very good person, good coach, good player. what has happened to the rest of them, right? So it has to be done properly. And I think Arsene Wenger said when he looks at players, he doesn't look at passports, right? If you're good enough, obviously that is in a club situation, right? But here, national-wise, you have to do it properly. Maybe they have to play from a certain age before they get there, and all these are the nitty-gritties of the rules and what have you. To me, it's okay to have a foreign talent scheme, but has to be done properly. If it helps you, it helps you. Everyone is doing it. Everyone in the world, not only in football, in
the world champions.
Exactly.
Badminton too.
Exactly. Everyone is doing it. So it is not these guys who play, in badminton or whatever. They don't come here just to be a Singaporean, just to play, right? They've been here for many years. So if it is done properly, I don't have any problems with that.
But
So this is the first time I have a chance to tell you about Goal 2010 and why probably it didn't work, right? So foreign talent to boost the performance of a national team is obviously one way to go. But that competitive dynamics, everybody will do it, right? And so now you have a competition of which foreign talent you get, right? So let's imagine, for example, the 10 Southeast Asian countries. Everyone hunts for foreign talent, right? So then the question comes is, why do you join Singapore? Right? Why do you join Singapore? So it can be because you love Singapore, you have some attachment to it. It can be because I pay you better, but that is the competitive dynamic that exists now. Both of which doesn't really resonate very well with me, right? I mean, I suppose other Singaporeans, I don't care. I just want a winning team. I'd like you to play for Singapore because Collin has mentioned it at the start. Because there's a flag on your heart, right? And I want to play for that flag, right? I will tell you first of all, there are countries that outperform themselves where the players don't actually get very much money, right? I was very amazed by Chinese Taipei. Chinese Taipei ranks above us, Taiwan ranks above us in the football ranking. And when I met the GM, I asked them, how much do you pay the players? They get an allowance of $500 per match. That's all they do.
Wow. Okay.
Most of them play in the Chinese Super League, right? But they come and play because their argument is you profile yourself on the international stage with your national country for people to pick you up. But I like to think that they play for Taiwan because they love the country too, right? So I don't want players playing because of the money. I only play because of pride. This is Singapore, I'm not saying money is not important, but I want you to play for pride. So the question is, does that foreign talent have the pride, to play for us? The second thing is, obviously, if you take it to the logical extreme, and foreign talent was unregulated, every country will feel a Brazilian team, right? Now FIFA realized this, so FIFA has put severe regulations on naturalization of talent, amongst which you have to have an association with the country for 5 years. It means that you have to be resident in the country before you actually take up the citizenship, or have a grandfather or grandmother that has roots in here, right? So that a long way around. So that has severely curtailed, right, the introduction of foreign talent. If let's say I take a 23-year-old, by the time I can make him play for Singapore, he's 28. Now I know Alex Durridge continued playing until he's 37 for Singapore, but that's very rare, right? So that's again another curtailment. So I would rather spend most of our attention saying, look, we're a small country, we are organized, we can produce our own players. Any foreign talent coming in will supplement it, but he's got to have the heart of a Singaporean. And that will be the way I run.
And I think you brought up Durridge. I think it was Daniel Bennett who's already now set a new record at the age of 39, I think, when he was still called up for the Lions.
Yeah.
So kudos to both of them.